Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathbun. On this podcast, we promote positivity, empathy, and compassion because we believe that kindness is alive and well, and there are people and organizations that you may not have heard of in the world, making their communities a better place for everyone. And we want you to hear their stories. On this podcast, we talk about matters of kindness because kindness matters. Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. I am so happy that you chose to be here with us today, that you actively made a choice to spend 30 minutes of your time here with me and my guest. I'm Mike Rathbun. I'm the host of the Kindness Matters podcast. And I am so grateful that you're here. I just wanted to throw in one little note. I have started a newsletter for the podcast. So if you're interested in signing up, it's completely free. But every month you'll get an inspiring, uplifting newsletter in your email. And who among us couldn't use a little inspiring, uplifting message in our email once a month, right? At least that's the way I'm thinking about it. So go ahead and go to the website. It's thekindnessmatterspodcast.com/contact. Fill out your information, your name and your email address. And starting in September, you'll start getting those emails every month. I hope it brings you value. How about that? So I am so excited for my guest today. She is a healing coach and a singer and a professional, nationally known singer. Well, maybe singer, but I was going to say speaker. Maybe internationally known speaker as well. Heather Ann Ferry is here with us to talk to us and make us feel better. Welcome to the show, Heather Ann.
Thank you so much. Is it okay if I do a little message for the audience with a singing?
Please do. Okay. Yes, of course.
It's a beautiful day to love yourself. It's a beautiful day to be kind to yourself. I'm Heather Ann Ferry from the city of Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
That is so awesome. I love Mr. Rogers, obviously. I mean, who doesn't, right? I've never met anybody who said, I don't like that Mr. Rogers. He's just too kind. I've never met anybody that said that, right? So you, now you are a healer, right? Is that?
Yes.
Do I have that right?
Correct.
And that comes from needing to heal yourself?
Absolutely.
If it would not be too uncomfortable, could you talk to us a little bit about how that came about?
Most definitely. I would say actually the healer in me, I believe I was born a healer actually.
Oh, wow.
But I might have been also born with a curse of generational traumas through my bloodline.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, my parents were high school sweethearts. They married early and they had a ton of trauma with both bloodlines. And through the stress of life, you know, the difficulties of my dad losing a job with his family's company and all of that. And this is back in the late 60s, early 70s. We didn't have a lot of talk therapy or any types of healing for that matter.
Yeah.
Especially not in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But basically what happened is when I was 8 years old, my mother came into my room in the mornings and she would attack me from behind and almost choke me to death while screaming horrific things. And so those screams and those horrific things started to imprint my thinking of I'm not worthy of being here. I'm not good enough. I'm bad. And this unfortunately went on for a period of time and then it stopped. So I ended up having a lot of illnesses growing up after that and brain damage. And it's been a long journey. Um, People can read about that on my website, and I have books coming out later this year. But it's been a really long journey. I never heard of the word yoga or shaman or ancient. I grew up blue collar.
Right.
I grew up, really with that. And we did not watch Mr. Rogers, even though my mom was really glued to the TV. I think if we had watched Mr. Rogers, maybe there could have been an influence of parenting or how to, the way he would talk. Because, when I walk around the city of Pittsburgh and I mention him every now and then, there is not one man, I don't care if it's like blue collar, lawyer, who their whole aura changes when I say his word. It's just like that. You see the little boy, like, I want to be better. I want to be better. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I was in show business in my 20s. And then in my 30s, I moved back to Pittsburgh to really, be with my family and heal. And that healing journey is a long journey, but I was starting to get lots of pain and sickness and diagnosed and this and that. And then I just decided to walk away from all of that and went on the healer's journey. And it's now that I'm finally ending it and really stepping into spiritual counseling and really sharing these ancient sciences that are outside the box that nobody's heard of. But yeah, that gives you a little taste of my background.
Yeah. So now, quick question: when when you were in entertainment in your 20s, and you were away from Pittsburgh, did some of that stuff start to go away? Because when you were telling that, it almost sounded a bit like it came back like full force once you came back to home. Back to home. Is that did I
That's
get
a
that
good
wrong? Or
question. No, I think New York was a very important journey for me in show business, but I had brain damage and was frozen and couldn't feel, and was in dysfunctional relationships and depressed. And, people loved me on stage, but people had no idea who I was off stage. I was playing other people. So I wasn't
sure.
being authentic. I did not have a voice. Now I have, and I talk in many of my keynote talks about the tap masters influenced me greatly in the clubs. They were probably the most spiritual people. Jimmy Slide is a tap legend, divine
Sure.
masculine. I would connect him to Mr. Rogers. But besides that, show business is tricky back then when you're a woman. And I walked away from contracts. I started to go, is this who I am? And so I started to study yoga and meditation in New York, which then led my heart back to Pittsburgh to start to unravel the frozenness and the PTSD that I was in clueless that I even had, to be honest with you, because you start to forget your childhood.
Yeah. No, that's easy to do, right? Um, I'm sure I've forgotten more stuff than I even know. But there was something else I wanted to ask you about. You mentioned the word bloodlines when you were
Mm-hmm.
talking about your parents. And that's kind of an important part of what you do, isn't it? Can you talk to us a little bit about more what bloodlines are in your
Yes, that's a
work?
great question. I would say that I used that phrase lightly 11 years ago, but I would say when my father passed away in 2022 and I started to hear him and feel him because we had a lot of things to work out, I didn't plan that. I started to understand that I needed and upgrade new tools, but I also understood that this is generational. You pass it down through childbirth, and there's a lot of science to back that.
Okay.
But for me in the last year, it's the discovering of, because you as a little girl, you ask, why is my mom like this? Why does she dislike her child?
Yeah.
I love her, I'll do anything for her, and stuff like that. And that's a turmoil that I've had to work out and work out. And I think I've done that with Grace. But what I found was her bloodline, she never knew her roots. And when I say that, my maternal grandmother, during childbirth, her mother passed away. And so her older sister raised her,
Oh,
and
wow.
there was no father in sight, right? And I never looked at my grandmother and noticed that her skin color was a little different than mine. It was a little darker. It was a little darker than my mom's. And that there's this possibility as I went through that shamanic and sort of understanding that I know who my ancestors on the maternal side are Black American Indians.
Oh,
So if you don't know these roots,
yeah. Makes it
and
impossible.
this stems to slavery and trafficking and brutal violence. And so it doesn't, how do I say this? It doesn't apologize or sort of say, this is why my mom is the way she is all my life.
It's not an
But it
excuse.
sort of makes me understand if this is in our programming and wiring, which I consider myself like sort of like a master at rewiring the brain with PTSD and OCD and childhood trauma and ADHD. But it sort of gave me like some relief of like, oh, and maybe I'm the one in this bloodline to reverse it.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that is so powerful that you finally found that and figured it out.
Thank you.
That's that's so incredible. So now it's one thing to heal yourself, right? I mean, we
Yes.
all at some point or another hopefully work on those things inside us that need attention, but it's completely different to help others heal themselves. How did you make that jump?
So I was in Pittsburgh kind of lost because those programs were coming out and I was back with the family
Yeah,
and trying to find my foot of I just didn't know who I was, and a lot of clients come to me, they have this career, but it doesn't represent who they are. Who are you? What's your purpose? Like you, when you started this podcast, you
yeah,
switched into that passion of kindness, all that stuff. So I, I didn't plan on being a healer or being a trauma coach. I kind of slowly fell into it by when I was teaching yoga classes, people would come up and say, do you do privates? Do
oh,
you do this? Do you do that? So that started the private instructions. And then all of a sudden, as I was really going into the brain work, and you have to, this has been a full-time job because I really was passionate about healing myself. It's a full-time job.
yeah,
So if I'm working 8 hours, I'm working 8 hours offline healing myself. It is not a quick fix. But I started trying like a mad scientist, all kinds of stuff to figure out formulas and how do we figure this out. And
yeah,
slowly I started to get doctors and medical people in front of me. And I was like, this is strange. But they were teaching me what they weren't being educated on. And they were also teaching me my innate intuition, which I think a lot of times we lose our intuition. And that's the power of meditation. The
yeah,
power of meditation is you start gaining that intuition and you start living your life instead of living it for everybody else.
yeah. Oh, that's so powerful. Um, and so then, I think I lost my train of thought here. It left the station.
Take a
Then
moment, take a
I
breath.
can take a moment. I, I'm the head here. Um, so talk to me about now. You're in touch with other beings. Can you channel people?
Yes.
You can.
I channel well, I work with when I came onto this, every podcast I go on, I call in the divine mother who I interpret as the one who created Mother Earth, was
Okay.
called Mother for, and then I call in my angelic team. Now, I did not have this ability till after my dad passed away. I want to really note that. I kind of was insecure about my intuitions and my psychic abilities and kind of downplayed that a lot, even though I can look back and say, oh, wow, that was, I give myself credit now, which I didn't before. But and so yeah, I do that. And part of my teaching though is not to necessarily be a channeler for other people, but to teach them how to do it on their own, of course.
Yeah, that was going to be something else. Because I think we'd all like to have somebody be a healer for us when we need it, but I think it's so much more impactful when you can do it yourself. But not everybody, probably relatively few people, actually have that ability to do it themselves and could use some help. And that's where you come in, right?
I love what you just said, because this is my sort of statement in the next couple months, is to really send the message out like, I'm a guide. It's very important that people start getting toolkits. And so when
Yes.
people work with me, they have a notebook and they have homework. And if they don't do the homework, that's on them,
Hmm.
because you've got to do the meditation for 11 minutes. You've got to do the detox. You've got to take action. That's the only way we're going to empower a population, is that I as a healer teach them what I did in this journey. So I think that's a very important message, because a lot of people like to go to psychics and this and that, but you don't know. They could be projecting. They could be from your past life, if you believe in that and this and that. You just don't know. And
Yeah.
because I lived such a life of betrayal and abandonment from so many people, I had distrust. I want people to trust whatever, and whatever it is, whether it's Buddha, Jesus, whatever it is,
Right.
that's yours. And it's important for you. You'll know in your body when it feels right. And I think part of me just validates and allows people to step more into their power.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And you talk about um, journaling, but you call it downloading.
Well, there's two ways of
Okay.
writing. I definitely recommend journaling, and it's great to do it in the morning when you wake up, when you're not overthinking and analyzing, but just
Oh, I
sort
do
of
that in my
setting
sleep sometimes.
just sort of setting the tone, and and writing, or writing after work if you're stressed out, to get it out of your brain.
Okay.
But downloading or writing without having any attachment to it is something that is also new to me in the last couple years. And it's really interesting what comes up, because it's like, because I used to be OCD, overthinker, because when you come from trauma, you're trying to protect yourself 24/7.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You got to control everything. And so that was a journey to detach and to just allow what comes out. And this is what I help people do, not just with healing, but as they're healing. Do you like to sing? Do you like to dance? Do you like to paint? Do you like to write? Do you like to, what's that thing that may be missing that can give you some stimulation of enjoyment, of happiness?
Sure. So what is okay? I'm still a little fuzzy. What is downloading? What are you? I mean, you hear the term downloading, and I'm thinking, okay, are you bringing something in? Is that
You have no
okay?
you're sitting in silence,
Okay.
or you're playing an instrument. A lot of musicians, when you're improvisation, when I was a tap dancer, improvisation, all of a sudden you're not thinking about the steps, they're coming through.
Oh,
So when I became a professional, part of my one woman shows, people would be like, I heard this, and because I'm letting voices come through me
okay.
that audience needs to hear. So I can't control it. I can't manipulate it. I have to be an open channel. That's the key, though.
Okay.
An open channel. And I have to be an open channel for good, because you can download evil too.
Oh, really?
You can get entities and evil and those things too. So when you talk about, when I was thinking about kindness today, I was thinking about your show.
Hmm.
I thought to myself, I think we'll see a kinder society the more people self care more, the more people self heal more. Because, well, I tell you what, when I was in trauma PTSD, I couldn't think about anyone else and I wasn't in a great mood.
Right, right. Yeah, there's a lot of anger out there in the world, isn't there?
Yeah.
And yeah, if we all worked on ourselves a little bit, maybe we could be kinder. You had a story, and I know you've told it when we were offline, but I would really about the counselor in the school district. Can you tell
Yes.
us that again?
Yeah. So there's this place that I visit sometimes in the evenings. I'm going to keep that neutral. And there's this woman who works part time for extra money, but she's a full time counselor at an elementary school.
Mhm.
And I've seen her off and on, but then there was, we'd say hi in this. And then there was one time where we had this deep conversation. I had some time and I was asking her a lot of questions because I love to ask people questions, as you do. And I love to pick people's brains about what's going on in schools or what's going on in your world, just to see if there's a collective thing, because that's important for me as a healer.
Okay.
And so she started to talk, and I did see she's been in this career for 25 years.
Wow.
She looked a bit tired. And I could see the old me of overgiving, which then can be very taxing to our caregivers.
Yes.
And she started to talk, and I was asking her questions about the elementary kids. Is it different 10 years ago teaching than now, or being a counselor than now? All those different references. And I'm going to keep those notes aside. But the bottom line is she works the part time job. That extra money goes to the shoes in the cupboard, the clothes in the cupboard, the things and the essentials these little children, some of them, not all of them, because there's actually rich kids in the school too, need. And she was sort of talking about how I was asking her questions about, I don't want this to sound judgmental, but some of the parents value getting their nails done instead of their shoes being without lots of holes in them. And she is this like divine mother, which I mentioned. She's a
Oh yeah,
divine mother,
that's who you
and
call on.
she's going out of her way. And I just kept asking her questions, and she says, well, the staff doesn't like it. And I said, I could relate to that because I've had a lot of judgment from my overgiving or kindness too in the past. So I said, what do you mean? They said, you should stop. You're making us look bad. And I thought, you're helping little children feel like somebody cares about them. Why would that be a problem? Isn't
Yeah,
that what a school is for?
yeah.
And, so I really spent a lot of time with her, and I really felt what a saintly energy, to sacrifice, because she doesn't have to. She doesn't have to after hours work and invest in this. And so what happened is that night I went home, and the next morning when I was writing and meditating, I heard my Mr. Rogers, and I pulled out of my box. I collect angels, and I picked an angel that I felt was her energy, and I wrapped it up, put it in gift. I wrote her a little card, just like Mr. Rogers always wrote back to his people.
Yes.
And I thought, well, when I see her again, I'm going to give her this. Well, I ran into her the same place a few nights. She's not always there, so it was beautiful. And I said, I want you to have this, but I don't want the staff or boss to know about it. I just want you to take this gift and take it home. So she opened it, read it, cried, hugged me. She said, nobody recognizes me. And I said, well, I do. And I thank you for your service. And she says, I'm going to put this angel on my desk. Well, what a beautiful gift for me. So now these
Yeah,
little souls, these beautiful souls, see this angel, and who knows, maybe that helps stimulate them.
yeah. Absolutely. That is such a great story. And I mean, it's sad to me that the school told her to not do that anymore because it makes them
Not the
look bad.
school necessarily,
Oh,
the
okay. I'm sorry.
staff.
Okay.
The staff, yeah.
All right. But still, yeah.
Yeah,
It makes us look bad. Whatever.
yeah.
It's such a great and Now, you work with anybody, right? Anybody that needs help?
Anybody that feels aligned and called, yes.
Okay. And the website is heatherannferry.com.
Yes, my name. Yep.
Look at that.
Make it
How easy is
easy.
that to remember? But in case you don't remember it, we will have a link to Heather's website in the show notes. So you can, if you need Heather's help, I mean, we all need help, right? At some point or another, all of us need somebody. And if you feel like Heather aligns with you, and you could, gain something useful from speaking with her, she's as close as the show notes and a click away. Heather, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really, really appreciate it. And I appreciate what you do and your message. And thank you.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak today and share my message. I really appreciate that. Many blessings to you and to the audience that's listening.
Awesome. Awesome. We will be in touch soon. Take care. I want to thank you for taking this time to listen to this episode with my guest, Heather Ann Ferry. I hope that you were able to take something positive from the time you spent with us today. Maybe you'll be inspired, maybe you'll be motivated, maybe you'll be moved. If you experienced any of those positive feelings, please consider sharing this podcast with your friends and family. I'm always striving to offer you a better podcast, so, give me some feedback. Drop me an email, mike@thekindnessmatterspodcast.com, or leave us a message on our socials. And speaking of our socials, you will find us all over the interwebs. We are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn. Just look for us, you'll find us. Please feel free to subscribe or follow us. And also, speaking of subscribing, we have a new newsletter out. And if you go to, there'll be a link in the show notes, but if you go to the kindnessmatterspodcast.com and /contact, you can sign up. It's completely free, and you'll receive a positive, uplifting email in your inbox every single month. So there's something to do as well. This podcast is part of the Mayday Media Network. If you have an idea for a podcast, need some production assistance, or you already have a podcast and you're looking for a supportive network to join, check out MaydayMediaNetwork.com and check out the many different shows. They have Afrocentric, Spoil My Movie, Generation Mixtape, In a Pickle Radio Show, Wake Up and Dream with D. Anthony Palin, Stacks O' Packs, and the amazing Time Pals. We'll be back again next week with a brand new episode, and we would be honored if you would join us. You've been listening to the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathbun. Have a fantastic week.